Good day. I'm Dr. Andy Torres. I'm the director at AES, and we're really happy to host this webinar today for our parents with the anticipation of our reopening of our school coming up in a little bit over a month. My team and I have been working on preparing for you a variety of materials and information that will fill in some gaps that I think many of you have been wondering about as far as the reopening, the processes, concerns that we have for your children and their safety and security, and ultimately the design of the instructional program as we move forward. I'm going to go ahead and start my screen up here in just a second, but before we do, I'd like to introduce you to our team here who are leading the development of our reopening processes. And I'll start with our new elementary school principal, Mr. Charles Bellamy. Charles?
Hi, I'm Charles Bellamy. I'll be the new elementary principal at AES next year, and I'm really excited.
And my name's Anthea Clifton. I'm the middle school principal, and it's welcome to a new year.
Hi, my name is Iftikhar Saeed. I'm the high school principal.
Hi, I'm Dr. Shirley Drazy, and I'm the Director for Teaching and Learning.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ilva Kovac. I'm the Director of Admissions here. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Nada Collins. I'm the Deputy Director.
All right. Today we are going to talk to you about a variety of things. And one of the reasons that we are here today is to connect with you and to help you to understand what we have as far as our programs and our purposes that as we move forward to opening the school. We want to hear from you. And so we provided a question and answer button at the bottom of the screen, and we ask that you submit just one question at a time to us, because when you put multiple questions in the entry, we have a hard time answering them all at the same time, and it gets very confusing. So one question at a time is very helpful for us, and we do encourage you to ask as many questions as you like. We'll do our best to keep up through this presentation so that you know you can see what we're answering, and those and this recording will be posted later so you can see it as we move forward. Our purpose today is to connect and inform you, to make sure that you have an understanding of where we are as we move forward with our planning for the coming year. Many people have asked me about are we still connected to and committed to the idea of opening up the school year on August 4? And I will tell you that today we are indeed looking forward to greeting students in one form or another on that day. And most specifically, I would say that most of our planning is moving toward the online environment. We believe that's the one that is most likely to happen. But we are prepared, and you will hear from my colleagues later on in this presentation about the other methods that we are looking forward to doing as we move into the school year. As I said, we want to connect and to inform. So you will hear today from our elementary, our middle school, and high school leaders, as well as our other school-wide leaders here at AES. Additionally, we're going to provide you an overview of our programs, and we will have some announcements and communication of engagement events and important dates. Starting today, as you finish this presentation, you will receive an email from us. It will be a overview of what we've talked about today with you, and then ultimately we will also give you specifics around these important dates that we will be telling you about as far as our engagements go. Our engagement events will occur twice weekly, and these engagement events start today with these two. We're doing a new parent session and a returning parent session. And then on July 7th and 9th, and twice weekly through the month of July, you will have an opportunity to hear from us, to hear about different aspects of our programs at AES, and to build a deeper understanding of how we're meeting your students' educational needs, their social emotional needs, and the needs of you and your family around safety and security. Also on August 3rd is our pre-opening parent orientation webinar. And during that time, you will hear about the very specifics around how and what you need to do to make sure your children get started right away and in an appropriate way on that very, very important first day of school. I want to call your attention to our pre-opening playbook, which we published several weeks ago. The URL is at the bottom of the screen, and you'll see that in the Q&A and the messaging feature of our webinar today. I encourage you to continue to look that over, as we will be updating it occasionally through the month with a updated question and answer, frequently asked questions list. And if there is any specific updates around content as we move forward in our planning, we will also incorporate that into our playbook moving forward. We also will be considering a variety of methodologies around how we might consider the manner in which we will be opening. We have a 3-point threshold that we're looking at right now for our reopening of our school. Ultimately, though, our focus right now, as I said, is on those online programs that we're calling connected campus learning programs. And so please go to the playbook and look at that information that we have there. And please review it as we go through the month, and we will call your attention to it if there are any changes. I really do believe that we've done a lot of work, up to this point. And as I said, my team here that you're hearing from today, our teachers, our tech experts, and support staff have been doing a tremendous amount of work behind the scenes to make sure that we are going to be ready to meet the needs of your children moving forward. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Nada Collins, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about safety and security on our campus.
Thank you, Andy. So I want to talk to you today just a little bit about what this looks like, what our campus looks like when we are within our hybrid or our on-campus models. What kind of changes we're making here on campus to ensure that our community is safe. I'll talk through a little bit around some of the professional guidance that's steering these conversations, as well as some of the routines we're developing and campus modifications. Andy, can you take me to the next slide? Those of you who are returning parents throughout the last semester, you heard us frequently referring to the CDC guidelines. It's been an amazing resource to us as we've worked through our efforts to make sure that we're following all the best advice to keep our students safe and keep our community safe. CDC has got specific opening guidelines that have been published for schools, and we've been reviewing those closely. We're also cooperating with our other 2 sister schools within India. The American School of Bombay and the American International School of Chennai are in a cohort with us to really look at establishing some common guidelines that are respectful of understanding the context and culture that we exist in, the government regulations, but also practices that are appropriate for our schools, which have resources, which have facilities, which might have space options that are robust and give us some choices within. We're working with international consultants. We really do want almost even an audit or a seal of approval, a way to work with a company that is guiding this and is going to come in and give us some advice along the way, but also to say, really, AES, given your specific context, given your space, given how your campus is laid out, these are the steps we should take, and you've made these decisions and endorsing that as we move forward. And finally, I'll mention the Department of Overseas Schools. We have submitted a grant that we're looking for support from the Department of Overseas Schools. It's also just a collection and organization of schools that gives a lot of advice for our groups and as we move forward and how we're opening. So those are some of the pieces that are guiding developing routines. This is not at all an exhaustive list. This is just a few touch points to give you a sense of the practices putting into place. Hand washing and hand sanitizing into our schedule, so installing hand sanitizers in each classroom and making sure there's a stand there that's maintained. Staggered and controlled movements means maybe all our students aren't, when we are arriving on campus, we're not all arriving at the same time. There might be there will be some clear guidance around directions, so certain stairwells, certain hallways that only move one direction to reduce students passing as they're moving. And in general, reducing student transitions where and when we can. That students aren't moving in and out of different classrooms as much, and they're not having as much contact with each other, that they're within their smaller groups. Limited sharing of spaces, limited sharing of materials. We're looking at ensuring that our students are using equipment that can be cleaned on a regular basis, sanitized on a regular basis. Students will have their own resources, their own materials that they keep with their name labeled on it. Resource sequestering refers to, those of you who are here through the summer know that we've been able to offer library services and that those weekly pickup and drop-offs. When you bring those resources back to us, they're kept for 24 to 40 hours before they're touched, and then they are properly sanitized. And that's to ensure that we're minimizing any opportunity for spread. Looking at our bus scheduling, students might be sitting together with their family members on a bus, but distance from others to ensure that they're in the safest possible environment while they're riding, but also keeping apart from other kids. We're looking at personal protection, including face coverings of a variety of sorts depending on the level of exposure that someone might have on a regular basis. We had a frequent cleaning process in place even before we went, but when we still had kids in the month of March still attending campus, and we have reviewed that again against our CDC guidelines. We're going to be very thoughtful about our attendance policy next year. We're going to be very conscious of the fact that we want students to stay home if they have any small level of symptoms. We want to make that part of our culture for faculty, for students, for our community, that we stay home if we're sick. And certainly if we've been exposed within the guidelines for the number of days, the 14-day window. This is one step, as Andy said, in our educating our community and preparing ourselves for the day that we can all be together on campus or in small groups, and making sure that we are doing so in a way that doesn't jeopardize the safety of our community. Finally, just a couple of things that we're doing here on campus. We're pulling our water fountains, replacing them with water fillers. You'll see a couple of other ideas, some transparent barriers installed where appropriate. We've purchased several thermal retinal scanners, and we're working with that technology, making sure it's appropriate for our community, so that we can place them throughout campus, maybe even to track temperatures throughout the day, not just on arrival onto campus. Reduction of use of communal spaces, developing an isolation room if there is a student who does have some symptoms, putting that protocol in place. They're kept safe until they are picked up or transported. And looking at our ventilation and making sure that we're thoughtful about safety, but also as much as possible, opening up that opportunity for that physical exchange of air. I wanted to start off with a sense of that safety piece, and this is really around the hybrid and the on-campus experience. We are now going to move into talking a little bit more about the academics. Before we go into the divisional conversations, Dr. Shirley Drazy is going to give you an overview of what learning will look like for our students in the lens of safety, in the lens of their academic excellence, social and emotional, paying attention to social and emotional needs, and building that community. Thank you.
Hi, everyone, again. Well, no matter where you've been on the globe in the last few months, you and the rest of us, all of us, we've just lived through emergency remote learning in some form, when we were all thrown into the deep end and had to learn to swim in a new setting for teaching and learning. We all have survived. We're glad that you're here. As a faculty, AES is taking what we learned during those months and weeks. We've been listening to researchers and experts who have studied what worked well during the online learning situation in March through June. And we're applying that to our plans for launching this next school year. most likely in an online environment for at least a while. So the researchers and experts in online learning tell us that the online environment is different than teaching in a typical classroom. And the characteristics that make it successful have teachers who provide, one, a variety of ways to build relationships for trust, for caring for one another, and for high expectations. Classrooms and teachers who present a rigorous, high quality, engaging content and opportunities for students to produce cognitively complex work. Third one is that teachers really consider carefully a blend of synchronous and asynchronous lessons and learning opportunities online, and that we really consider what is the best use of time in each of those modes so that we're maximizing the time spent in each mode. Next slide, please. The fourth one that, again, researchers are taking a look at are effective if we have opportunities for practicing skills for being independent in the classroom or in the learning environment, and that we encourage or we provide opportunities for children to apply those skills in real world problems, and that they are growing in their understanding in the content areas. So it needs to be a rich learning environment. Teachers will be providing a range of assessments and ways to show the child's thinking, their understanding, and how well they understand what's been presented. We also know that it's important to provide appropriate and timely feedback for children in a one-on-one situation, as well as to the group. And then lastly, we know that we need to provide many different ways to connect both one-on-one teacher to student, in small groups, teacher to a small group of children, students possibly leading a session or giving a presentation, and then teachers, of course, leading sessions as well. So these are the areas we are paying attention to as we plan to open school in an online environment. These are all good practices in online and in on-campus learning environments, and the limitations of the online environment make it necessary for teachers to adapt and maximize their approaches to learning. The other two modes of campus programs, or of programs that we are considering, is, of course, our on-campus program. We're all looking forward to the day when we'll all be back on campus face-to-face in classes, and even with adjustments for our health and safety. And we know that there could be times this year where we will have a hybrid or a blended version for our program. And we will be flexible to accommodate the health and safety guidelines, as well as to support each learner with the model that works best for them at the time, either online or on campus, and what works for your family. So generally, AES will be ready to actively move between the three modes of AES learning as needed across the next opening of school and the next weeks after that and across the year. Please also, I'm going to give you a reminder too, to please take a look at the pre-opening handbook. We will keep that updated, and the URL is there on the slide as well. So, and now I'm going to introduce Mr. Iftikhar Syed, who is our high school principal.
Hello, everyone. Once again, thank you for joining us today. I wonder how many time zones that we all are right now, but thank you for taking the time. As Ms. Tracy said, my name is Iftikhar Syed. I'm the high school principal, and I'm going to take a few minutes just to talk about an overview of what we are focusing on right now as we prepare for the school to start in August. Joyful pursuit of excellence in academics, athletics, arts, and service is what we remind ourselves, and I'm reminding you on a daily basis. But as you know, that joyful pursuit of academics, arts, service, and athletics, that can only happen when we have taken care of the student well-being. And that's where we're going to start as we create the systems and our thinking when it comes to opening the new school year. Advisory program in high school, which we call home base, will be integral part of that. Our counselors will be working with the faculty, and the faculty and the counselors will be working together with the students to make sure that our students' well-being, social emotional well-being, and physical well-being is well taken care of. Once that is set, the next step is really the focus for us is to make sure the academics are in place. We have the same set of excellent teachers in high school that you came to know of if you are a returning parent. We have few new amazing teachers who are joining in August from all over the world, and they're super excited to join AES. When it comes to students, all our 9th grades are new in high school, and we have around 20 to 25% student joining us in any grade level most years. So a lot of newness, and we're going to make sure that when it comes to the new students and returning students, the consistency of expectation is there. So when we do what we do, how we do it, it needs to be consistent among the grade level, among the teachers. And as parents, you should have a very clear understanding of what happens, when it happens, and how it happens. And we'll make sure that our communication is clear to you to get there, so that you don't never have to really look back 10 emails back of what I said about high school. So it'll be, hopefully it'll be very consistent. I hope you have received an email from me a few weeks ago, both returning and new parents, about the introduction of our counseling team. We are really focusing on three layers of counseling. The most important one right now is social emotional counseling. And obviously when we start the school year, we're gonna talk about academic and university counseling. And for the first time, there will be one specific counselor who will be really leading the charge of social emotional well-being at high school. And if you haven't received that email from me about the introduction of counseling team, let me know, send me an email, and I will share that email with you again. But we are trying to put the building blocks of making our new year a success by making sure that the pieces that we can work on right now are worked on. I'm meeting with Mr. Kish, our high school assistant principal, weekly. I'm meeting with the AES admin team several times a week, and we'll be meeting with the high school leadership and teacher team almost weekly starting next week. And that's how we'll be ready for you and make sure that our students get everything they deserve and more. Thank you. And with that, I will introduce Ms. Clifton for middle school.
Thank you, Issachar, and hello everyone. I'm Anthea Clifton, the middle school principal. The middle school team is already working to, like the other divisions, to plan for the next school year, and we're pretty excited about some of the things we're doing. We're also working with the Office of Teaching and Learning to take some of those research ideas and incorporate them into what we do. But essentially, any school year, no matter where we started, has three pretty big pieces to it. We need to build community, we need to launch our learning, get back into the swing of things, and we need to support our students and families as they transition from divisions or grade levels or into AES. So with that, Andy, can we go to the next slide? So one of the big focuses, especially in the middle school, is to build community. And there's an online photo there of a Zoom call, but we start with small and we work to big. So we develop small groups, safety, trust, connections, getting to know each other in advisory groups, which are particularly small, and then in regular classes. And whether we're on campus or whether we're online, we can still do that. And teachers will be preparing for how they can connect with students. Moving to our big, in the next slide, Andy, again, online or in person, we then put it together and we bring grade levels together. We connect with the teachers of the grade levels and the students so they can see each other. We have full school assemblies and, for example, Fort Frenzy, which is our way of having some fun in the middle school. Those things will all still be part of our community no matter how we learn, whether it's online or in person. And we're starting to plan for those things now. Our next slide, thank you, is just looking at how we launch learning. And we are already starting to look at what learning can look like online. How do we start a school year, and really how do we activate that curiosity? When you start a school year, you start with building relationships. That's teacher and students, students and students in the classroom. You build routines, you build systems, and you build expectations. And again, those things can happen online. They just look a little differently. And so some of those things that we're working on right now is developing some tech tools, some tech training for students, so that they either remind themselves or they develop their new skills on how to work with Google, how to work with PowerSchool, and the expectations we have for that. So we're starting to think about the launching of our learning, and which is always a challenge at the best of times. And then in slide 5, I think, Andy, the next one, thank you, is similar to what Iftikhar was saying. It's around supporting students, making sure that their well-being is being taken care of. We have a huge number of adults that can support. We have learning support teachers, EALs teachers, we've got our counsellors, our middle school tech team are there to support, and the office team. We all are here to support.
We had a little technical difficulty with Anthea there. That's all right, though. We'll just keep going. Charles, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Charles Bellamy, the elementary principal, the new elementary principal at AES next year. I want to thank all of you elementary parents that have taken time out to join us today. I want to spend a few minutes talking about the elementary perspective on some of the big themes that we've been talking about throughout this webinar. Building community, our connected campus learning programs, and supporting families. We've talked a lot about community. You know, it's a very big piece of who we are at AES, a community of belonging. With every year, we have new students, we have new teachers, we have new families, and it's just extremely important for us to begin our year building those connections and community. So you can expect as an elementary parent that we're going to spend significant time at the beginning of the year, a significant number of days at the beginning of the year, focusing on building that activity, connecting students, returning students with new students with new students, but just in a very varied activities that are developmentally appropriate across our grade levels. We want to focus on that, and we will pay a lot of attention to that. Our connected campus learning, you know, when we start talking about an online mode of learning for elementary kids, we really want to look at the structure and the schedule to provide as much predictability in schedules and routine as we can. Again, building that structure and that schedule and balancing the synchronous and asynchronous learning in ways that are developmentally appropriate across our grade levels. When your range is kids from 3 to 4 year olds through 5th grade, that it's going to look different in each grade level, but we want to provide that structure and predictability, which provides security for our students and helps them be successful. We've talked a lot about support. You've heard it from the other divisions. We will continue, no matter what the mode that we're in for delivering instruction is, we will continue to provide the support that all students need through our learning resource, through our counseling office, through our EAL, through our tech support, through leadership. No matter what the mode is, we will continue to provide the support that each of our students need. I talked about structures and schedules and having routines that are predictable. But in our consistency, we also have to be flexible. We know that we have families on our campus who have multiple students at multiple grade levels, maybe all 3 divisions, or maybe I have a family that has 3 or 4 students all in elementary. We understand that. We understand that we also have to adapt and be able to work with those families and help them manage what that looks like in a virtual setting. So we're thinking and planning for that as we're developing our programs. again, supporting families, and I've put technically, socially, and emotionally. We know that elementary is different. We can't send an elementary student away after a synchronous learning event or a Zoom meeting and ask them to spend 3 hours doing independent work. So we are going to, we know because of that, our parents play a big role in helping us deliver a virtual mode of instruction. So we're looking at ways to help our parents with that, helping them through education, through training, through knowledge of the tools that their students will be using so that they can support their learning. The COVID struggle is real. Part of being socially and emotionally supportive for students as families is acknowledging that right now there's no one on the planet that hasn't experienced anxiety or uncertainty or even certain levels of fear about the global pandemic. We're committed to helping our students deal with that, helping support them and be there for them and our families as we reopen our school and deal with the impacts of this pandemic. Again, I'm very excited about being here next year. I look forward to meeting you all in person. Our admissions director of admissions, Ilva Kovac, has some information she'd like to share with you.
Thank you so much, Charles. So my name is Ilva Kovac, and I'm the director of admissions here at AAS. And we know that the past few months have been difficult for everyone around the world. While much uncertainty exists around how and when school reopens, we know that community support and strong relationships will be critical to get us through this pandemic crisis. So at this time, we are preparing for both virtual and on-campus family orientations. High school student ambassadors are already connecting with new high school students, and soon our middle school student ambassador will reach out to new middle school students. We're also planning student-led virtual tours for both middle and high school students. And for elementary school, stay tuned for more updates from the divisions. As for the practical items about collection of AAS ID card, bus transportation, physical health form, updating your new address, how lunch is going to be served, you will receive more information about this in one of our webinars closer to the start date. If you're overseas and arrive late, don't worry, we'll be here for you virtually, set you up for orientation sessions, counselor meetings, and connected campus online learning. We'll guide you through this one step at a time. The coming month will mark continued transition for everyone in our school community as we prepare for a new academic year that will offer new types of relationships, learning, and operations. We understand that transition may bring excitement, anxiety, concern, and other complex emotions as we all wonder what the return to school will look like. Please know that the admissions office will be open over the summer, and just let us know if you have any questions. You can reach out to us at admissions@aas.ac.in. And now over to our director, Dr. Andy Torres.
Thank you, Elva. I just want to reiterate that we will continue to update our back to school playbook. In it has a comprehensive FAQ list that will inform you of many questions that we've heard over the last couple of months that I think you'll find to be quite useful. Ultimately, you can find that and much more information around health and safety issues, our modes of learning, and ultimately our plans to address the concerns that many of you have. Again, look for your email coming out today about the upcoming training sessions for our parents. And ultimately, we are also going to be launching our new website on July 1. And on it will be a reopening page that'll give information that we will continue to update ultimately through the month of July, including the recordings of the multiple webinars that we will hold with our colleagues, not just these people on the screen today, but also with our teachers and support staff as we move forward into the month of July and ultimately into the beginning of August. So with that, I'd like to move into the Q&A session, and ultimately I'm going to turn off the slide share and we're going to go to our Q&A. So thank you so much for coming, and I look forward to hearing from all of you in the future. Let's look forward to also hearing from our other members of our community as we move into the months ahead. Thank you so much. Let's go to the Q&A.